what they didn't get was that we weren't there to be talked out of it. We were there as a work detail. So when he finally realized, you know, and he threatened us with jail, and he told us this isn't the right way you go about it. You're supposed to go through the courts and file a lawsuit, and you know, 2 years later, right. We decided, no, we're opening the road. The reason we're opening the road is because it's illegally closed. Bottom line is, we're taking our road back. And based upon that position, the district ranger agreed, and he opened the road for us. Took him a week, but they opened the road. This is what I mean by strategy, all right? You think Mahatma Gandhi didn't use strategy in how he approached the courts in his day? He knew the law, he knew the limitations, he knew where the boundaries were, he knew how to force an issue. Cushman Creek Road down in Montrose, okay? We forced an issue. We went there to go reopen a road. Now they've got a federal investigator investigating a federal felony for us reopening a county road. Well, they shouldn't have left their gate on a county road. Okay, there's no federal jurisdiction here. It was they abandoned their property on a county road. The road was never closed. So I've had several conversations, 2 conversations with the investigator. He's trying to find some way in, but we have notified him of what the law is. So I'm educating this guy as we go. So I'm hoping that it doesn't go to court, but if it goes to court, the first thing we're going to raise is a question of jurisdiction. Lawyers don't do this. Lawyers just are there to maintain the status quo. So understanding jurisdiction, understanding the limitations on their power, it's more than just for the courtroom. It's for our lives. We start exercising our freedom and enjoying our freedom, and then let the chips fall where they will. If we get encountered for enjoying our freedom, like I'm not complying with Obamacare. Not doing it. Not happening. And this is how it goes. I'm not filing the tax return anymore. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what am I looking at? I'm looking at the potential federal indictment for willful failure to file. I've got my arguments lined up. Jurisdictional. Unconstitutional. You know, I've got, you know, whatever. Let's engage. You know, it's time to engage, not run. And so we begin the engagement by learning who we are, who they are, and what is law and how does it work. Jeff McCluskey's fighting a parking ticket. Thank you, Jeff.
Woo, Jeff!
So he's feeling right scary, right? It's just a parking ticket, and yet you're feeling the intensity and the course of this, and you're laying awake at night thinking, you know. But it's the best education that you can get because you go in there and you learn how the things work. We could shut down this system tomorrow if every one of us fought every traffic ticket we got. We would shut down their system if we fought the traffic tickets rather than paid them.
What about speeding tickets?
Same. The speeding statute says that it's. Can you quote it, Keith? You filed a motion in this regard.
What the statute says?
Yeah.
Actually, no person shall drive at speeds greater than reasonable proven under the conditions that do then exist.
For the conditions of the road
Right.
that are in existence.
That's the speeding statute. Do you know how vague and ambiguous that is?
Well, the 2 words are reasonable and prudent.
Reasonable,
I
prudent,
could
and
reasonably, in good conditions, do 90 miles an hour and read a book.
So,
Wait, I got a second ticket after that though, and that was 25 miles over.
No texting, no.
And that one was,
Text and
I
read
couldn't
and drive.
beat.
but you won
I
that.
did beat the first one, thanks to you, Linda and Barry. Brings me to a question. When I got my speeding ticket, I had the luxury of you, Linda and Barry. But as people are gonna be taking your class here, do you think they'll be benefiting from each other's experience or be able to, you know, start putting time in, like Jeff's fighting a ticket? If we help Jeff, and is that gonna be a benefit, or are we too green, too novice?
Well, this is what we did back. Okay, so when I got started in this back in the mid '80s, okay, I attended a law club. We had a law club in Denver. And we came in with our stuff and we talked about it. And we shared ideas and we were being effective. in that we were clogging up the system.
Well, back in the day, we also had mock trials.
Yeah, we were doing mock,
did all of
yeah,
that.
we were doing mock trials and stuff like that. But, you know, go fight a parking ticket. And it's, you know, the education that you get it hard and fast because, you know, you got to know it. And you go in and, you know, if you make a mistake, it costs you $15 for pay the ticket. So, oh, and now getting back to Keith's point on the speeding ticket, reasonable and prudent under the circumstances. That's what the statute says. Every time you're charged with violating a speed limit, the actual law. Have you ever bothered reading the law itself? I always encourage you, if you're being charged with something, go read the law. And then read the charging instrument, whatever it was, whether it was an indictment or an information or a traffic ticket or whatever, because there are certain criteria that the traffic ticket has to specifically charge you with in order to be considered a valid complaint. So every step of the way, there are obligations on the state to get it just right. And if they don't, then they can't transcend the boundaries of their limitations.
There was one other thing with my ticket, and like he's saying, reading it, they didn't have a definition for any of those words, and that's how I got out of it, was to ask for a more broad definition. And the excuse Officer Hill has to say, one that gave David a ticket, supposedly had a roping accident, lost his finger, couldn't make it to court. When he showed up in David's case, he had his thing all 10 digits.
A year ago, we
Different.
filed a motion to dismiss, and we filed a motion for a more definite statement regarding the vague and ambiguous statute with the two words, reasonable and prudent. What does that mean? And so the district attorney came back and he said, well, here's the statute. That's not what we asked. We asked you to define reasonable and prudent. The day of court, Hilling never showed up because he was in a roping accident and ripped one of his fingers off. Well, when David was in court, that guy had all 8 of his fingers and 2 thumbs. So you go after the statute itself as vague and ambiguous.
So we're going to end this at 1 because it was going to go for 3 hours. But if we do this again, if you like this, and you want to do it again.
Yeah.
You want to try for November 9th, Saturday, November 9th, same time? That's like 3 weeks.
I'm going to check my calendar, but tentatively that will work.
Yeah.
Now, if we do this again, this was the introduction, and we video it, and you're planning on putting it up on YouTube or whatever. So people can watch this, and then we'll start next time. We'll start, I'll bring in some volumes of books and basically show you, I'll take the mystery out of this thing. It's not a mystery. And the lawyers are embarrassed to admit that it's not really a mystery. But it's really, you can get your mind around this. The law is written in such a way that it's, you know, once you know what you're looking at and you understand some fundamentals, you can begin to build on those things. And if we owe it to our posterity, if we owe something to our posterity, we need to educate them in the law. We need to educate them in what the founding fathers set up. And, you know, begin to fight, at least in the courts. And I tell you what, in my history, like I said, I can't call them friends. They're good acquaintances. Judges know me by first name. I had one judge said, David, I love what you're doing. It needs to be done. I just wish you weren't doing it in my courtroom. All right? So, again, remember the broom. Remember Dorothy's broom, okay? I've had cops pull me over on the side of the road, and I can't tell you who they were, but I will say that I've sat in the front seat of a CSP cruiser, unhandcuffed, and we were studying the Bible because he wanted to understand what I knew about the kingdom of heaven and where I got this passion to do what I'm doing. And his son ended up being a babysitter for us. This was years ago. But I believe that if we give them the tools that they need to make proper rulings, and this is to answer your question, there are some people with integrity in that system. They just need to be accessed and given the opportunity. And maybe I'm delusional, and maybe I'm a dreamer, but you know, until this thing goes to arms, I'm going to hang on to that belief that we can make a difference using the law as it was intended and giving the judges an opportunity to make good rulings. Because I know I've met several good judges and several great police officers and sheriffs that really like what I'm up to. They don't understand it in some areas, but I don't expect them to because they're not lawyers. but they just know they really don't like enforcing some of these laws. So I'm going to wrap it up unless anybody has any other questions.
Please come again.
Okay, well, thank you very
That was
much.
awesome, David.
Tentatively,
Thank you.
yes, sir?
Coming to arms along that line, you say you have confidence at a state level. How about federal?
No, I have no confidence in the federal government.
And I'm talking about our military. What stand do you think they would take if it came?
They'll come again, the military will be used against us.
They'll be used
And
against
they have eradicated the men of integrity at the higher ranks.
Right.
And they've brought in new people that are going to enforce the
they're
will of
doing that on a daily
the regime.
basis.
It's going to come down to the sheriff. We got to get behind the sheriff. The sheriff's the man. I will always stand behind the sheriff, even while I'm being thrown in jail by him.
How many people think they can do November 9th?
How many can?
November 9th? So it's looking good, so
So make it a priority.
it's looking pretty good.
Yay, that's
Roger wants to make a
awesome.
closing statement too. Thank you, David. Just a second.
Just a second. We're all sitting here watching him get hanged. We need to be in that courtroom with him. We need to be there because he is what Tipton is not, Bennett is not, Udall is not, Obama is not. He's our grassroots edge leading the fight. They're not fighting for us, so we need to get behind the fighter.
So when's the next court appearance?
We'll find that out. We need to be at this next
October
meeting.
30th.
Wear a hat that says
Oh, if
freedom.
I run against Tippin, they'll paint me out as some lunatic that thinks he's an ambassador from heaven.
Just like they fit
Because if he goes-
Dave's our lunatic in Mesa County.
When is the court?
Thank you, David. I'm a lunatic.
You used to see the eyes rolling at our table yesterday.
If-
Oh, when I was paying attention.
Yeah.